Welcome to Wealthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real-life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to have Diana here. We just practiced her name and all the names, like typical Latin American way, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, so we were laughing. It is such a pleasure to have you here in the show. Diana, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. And you are spot on. Depending who I'm hanging out with, my family calls me Caro because in the Dominican Republic, we go by Carolina. That's my actual middle name, Carolina. My parents call me Caro. My kids call me Mom. My husband calls me Diana or Diana, depending on the mood. And so do my friends. So I respond to all of them.
Well, welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now let's start with the very first question is, how did you get here? How did you get to do what you're doing now? And then you tell us what you're doing, but what was the path?
So I have to say that my journey has been very unconventional. Growing up first gen, I watched families who work, my family worked really hard. They have a very strong work ethic, but very little security across employment, across wealth, across unity and partnerships. And that discipline is what brought me to the United States. I came to the States at 14. I went to school here. I grew up in New York City. And I've been navigating the intersection of finance, commercial lending, technology, real estate, and consulting. And now I get to give that back to my community and my industry.
Wow. What do you like best about what you do? Besides being a mom, of course, and being my friend.
There you go. That's the number one spot. I would say it's building relationships. Throughout my career, I've seen how wealth creation, it accelerating business growth, and navigating the ecosystem of sales and finance all comes down to building relationships. Who do you have in your corner when something is not working? Who can you reach out to when you need advice before you make that big decision? And who do you need for support? Sometimes it's not just about the tools or the resources, but who can you count on when you are feeling down, when you have that one day that it's like, okay, I cannot go anymore, I'm gonna quit. Who can you reach out to? So I have to say it's building relationships, building trust, and growing together.
Wow. This is so important because I've been talking a lot and listening a lot to AI, and the basic assumption is AI is going to do the thinking and robots is going to do the doing. And I always say, who's going to do the feeling? And I was recently in Berlin, and I was talking to this guy who has an event has the Eco Summit. And even though he's German, he does a lot of work with Barcelona. He likes Spain. And one of the things we were talking is we cannot replace relationships. It's and we need to work at that. We need to make the effort. And the people that have happier lives and more successful lives are not the wealthiest people, are the people who build those relationships. So, how did you reach that conclusion?
I have to say that I have invested a lot of money just learning that. So right now I'm finalizing my master's degree in industrial organizational psychology because of that. Not because anyone told me go to school again,
Tramposa.
get a third degree, but because a lot of tools, AI, technology can replace a lot of work, but
Mhm.
the emotional component of what it takes to build trust and relationships is human. So I have
Yeah,
invested in learning how can we be more human? How can we be more
yeah.
relatable? How can we build more trust among each other? And I have to say that started when I was in banking. I was servicing people on the retail side. And when I started my career at JP Morgan, then transitioned to HSBC Bank, handling commercial portfolios and in the business banking world. And business owners just wanted to connect with someone that understood what they needed. And that gave me the realization, how can we just build trust? How can I become their partner? Not just their banker, but their partner. If they need an advice on legal, they will call me. Diana, do you need an attorney that I can reach out to so they can help me? Do you have a CPA that you trust? And that relationship just it became a loop. It became an ecosystem among all the clients that I was working with. And that gave me the realization, you have to invest in people and you have to invest in being human.
Wow. I mean, this is so, so interesting. And it just brings so many recent conversations. Like I went to Berlin to be at a friend's party. So he turned 60 and I went there. He's just a friend. And people didn't believe, well, you're going to come all the way from California. I said, yeah, when you care for people, you make the effort. And
Exactly.
and it's not that you spend the money, it's you make the effort. That's one thing that we teach our grandkids, my grandkids, my kids, and it's you can buy a lot of things, but you have to make the effort. So, for example, for Christmas presents, they have to make the presents, they have to make the effort, and that shows. And in relationships, you have to show up, you have to make the effort. And we are, at least here in America, we're going into a society where we're very networking, very transactional. And I miss that because sometimes you just talk to people because you care about them. You just want to, there's nothing you want to gain. You just want to know how they are. Or maybe you gain the feeling that you're connected. I don't know. But it's much more free. Do you feel that way?
I do believe that there's definitely a component of altruism in that, where
Mhm.
I do feel good by building relationships, I'm building trust. But I just to your point of your grandchildren, you are 100% accurate. I feel that when we invest in experiences and relationship, we are not just investing on the right now, we are investing for the future. So, for example, one of the things that we like to do is go on vacations that can build memories. That way, our children don't just see mom as the mom in the house, because I'm always nagging them. Pick up your phone, pick up your clothes from the floor. Even though the hamper is right there, the clothes is still going to the floor. And I'm like, so do your homework, do this, do that. When we go on vacation, we are creating those memories. We are building, they can see mom more relaxed. They can see me as, someone that they can trust now and in the future. And they can build that trust long term. In addition to that, I do believe that the relationships that we build today can be the catalyst of what we become tomorrow, of the partnerships that we can create at the personal level or and also at the business level.
So going into relationships and trust, has there been any instance where you say, I don't want to be connected to this person?
Yes, that
I have
uh,
few of those.
yes. I have to say that there were a couple of times where I have to fire my own clients. There was an instance that I remember vividly. I was working with a client. I went in the office and we were in the middle of a meeting and he snapped. He was completely verbally abusive to someone that reported to him. And I saw this behavior. And it was the second time that I've seen it. Previous to that, I saw it on the phone when he was being really mean to someone, and I just couldn't handle. I was so angry that I have to tell, we closed the project and I have to tell him, unfortunately, I'm not able to work with you anymore. I just don't think that the way that you transact and you treat people is the same vision that I have on how others should be treated. So yes, that is really important to me. And I do think sometimes it's okay to have standards. You need to align yourself with people that share some value. That doesn't mean that you have to be in complete agreement, but when you are doing work or you are creating partnerships and building friendships with individuals that make you feel sick, that make you feel that you don't belong in the same circle, you should trust that.
Wow, and especially nowadays that the world is so polarized is so important and to be able to make a contribution. I do have a list, I'm an investor. I do have a list of people that if they invest, I don't invest because I don't like how they behave. And I think it's healthy to have those boundaries. I wish I were a kinder person and said, "Oh, let's work with them to see if we can fix it." But I'm not that saint. I don't want to do that.
And I think that's okay. Sometimes we should. Definitely, if there is something that is beyond us and our personal feelings, but if you have the ability to make certain decisions, that's what creates the culture of your company. The decisions
Yes.
that you make, the decisions that you make now and how others get treated impact the culture of the company. So when your employees, your partners see that you are able to tolerate certain things that you're not comfortable with, they might see that, well, it's okay for us to feel the same way. It's okay for us not to speak up. And I don't want to be part of that. I want to hear other people disagree with me, number one. I need to understand their logic. And that doesn't mean that we are always going to be in agreement, but we need to be respectful and kind to each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So that's gonna lead me to the next question, which is, um, if you were to write yourself a letter when you were 20 years younger about the things that you didn't know that now you know, they say, hey, what would be in that wisdom letter?
That's a great question. And there's one thing that I know for sure and that is that confidence, you are not born with it. You build it. Life will make you feel ready, even when you don't think that you are. So if I can definitely write myself at least, a quote, it will be, you are going to build the confidence by going through it and doing things, not just by waiting for confidence that comes to you. Life is going to build you up, it's going to knock you down. So just get back up.
Wow, I know, I love doing this podcast because I learned so much. Yeah, I wish somebody had told me that. My dad, when I was a teenager, I presented my first research paper, and it
Okay.
was a whole bunch of old people, and I was 16, and a whole bunch of professors. And I was doing something that was really weird. And then the professor that I was working with, and I was working with that professor because my parents didn't want me at home because I would drive my mom crazy and my dad crazy. So they just threw me at the university and I work as a research assistant. And I found out some weird stuff. And I said, we need to talk about this, and nobody had it. And the professor that I was working with was so kind that put me as a first author, which is something really, really weird. And they said, "Oh, if you want, you can present it at this conference." And I won several prizes. And I was a kid. And what you say is absolutely true. I didn't have the confidence. And I remember looking at the people. I said, "Oh, there's just no way I'm going to be there." And my dad told me, nobody knows how good or bad you can be. So you just go and do your best. And he told me something that I use a lot. He said, people are going to have compassion for you if you show you that you are insecure. So in nowadays terms, it would say if you show your vulnerability, but we didn't have those concepts there. He said, yeah,
Terms before, yeah.
yeah, they're like, just showing. And I remember standing up and say, well, I'm so sorry, I'm so nervous. And I started explaining that. And people were like, oh, this can't be done. I said, but the results show this. Um, but that was a pivotal moment of building confidence. Is you never know the things that you can do until you go and do it.
Exactly. And just to that point for youth, so one of my passions is definitely coaching youth sports. So when people ask me, what do you do in your spare time? I'm like, what is spare time? I'm either coaching, I'm either driving my kids, I'm a glorified Uber driver that doesn't get paid. I'm either building something or working in a project or working with my clients. And that is one of the things that I try to remind them. Just try your best, do your best, right? It's not enough just to try, do your best, but do it confidently. And if you need to work on something, then let's work on that. But you need to try, you need to show up ready. You've been practicing for this specific skills or game for weeks. You're ready. If you need to work on something after the game, then so be it. But just show up, do what you need to do at that moment, and then go back and think about areas of improvement. But you need to show up and try.
That is fantastic. That is really good. because most people just don't try. And if you try, and if you explore, and if you do, you know what works and what doesn't work.
Feeling
And
ready, just to the point to what you're saying, Alicia, I think that feeling ready is, it could be very tricky because sometimes we let our feelings determine what we should do, not our actions. So stop listening to your feelings sometimes. When sometimes you need to take it, you don't want to go to the gym, you don't feel like you want to go to the gym, go anyways. You don't feel like making that phone call, and just try to sell your product and services, do it anyway. Sometimes you need to push your feelings away, as it relates to taking action. You need to take action and let that guide you. Learn from the actions that you take. Allow yourself to learn from that, and just pivot if you need to.
wow, is there any tip that you can give, you know, to the audience? Like, I remember once when I did this, this is what I had. I have a couple for my kids that I'll share. But
Yeah.
do you have any tip?
One of the things I think could be really beneficial is do not take for granted the power of research. And I'm not just talking about AI. Go a little bit deeper. Try to find out if you're going to go to a conference, if you are going to speak to a major client, if you are aiming to create partnerships, find things that other people are not finding. How can you be different? How can you shine? Just don't do the same surface level research on things. That's definitely one thing that I will suggest. And then number two, don't use yes or no questions. Always go for the open-ended questions because that's where information is going to come out of. Don't
Can
ask
you
questions.
give us a couple of examples? I mean, that's the salesperson in you. It just
Yes,
comes. Yeah.
you can tell.
Yeah, I wish we had had this conversation when I was in my teens.
So, for example, if you are in a sales call and you are trying to gather feedback, don't say, "Do you like the product? Is there, can you recommend this to somebody?" They will say yes or no. Don't say that. Ask them if you can make an improvement on this product or in our services. What would you like to see? Oh my God! Now they can give you 10, 20 reasons that you were not expecting or that your team did not know about. So you went from an open-ended question to allow them to elaborate on what they could see as a change or an improvement. This is part of your research and development. This is substantial information that can guide the process, the procedures, the tools that you use going forward, and how you ask questions, and what the sales teams can do and the success team can do.
And it also builds a trust because it shows that you care for their opinion.
And that you're willing to listen, that you take the time to ask for their feedback. And I do think that is key when we are working with partners or with clients. Sometimes we don't ask them for their feedback, and I do think that that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I better start taking notes on that. I'm gonna use the AI of this skill. But I no, that you're right. Um, when I lived in Chile, I did the first seed capital fund, and I talked to over 1,000 people. And I'm very methodical, but I realized probably the first 500 people that I talked to, and it took me 2 years. Um, but I did not take notes. And then I started taking notes and just listen exactly what you said. And what happened was that people would tell me what I needed to do. And it was funny because I don't come from business. So, but I was so passionate about doing that that I would tell people, how do we make this irresistible? And people would look at, this young, crazy woman from Venezuela in Chile, and they're like, what? I said, yes. How do I make this irresistible proposition that people would jump and say, yes, let's do that. And then people would give me all the ideas and I would write them down. And then I finished. I said, "Oh, thank you so much. Uh, do you know anybody that would benefit?" And that's how I got to talk to more than 1,000 people, not knowing anybody. But I
And
didn't plan that. It was a matter of, I wasn't getting anywhere, and everybody thought that I was crazy. You can't do that. I'm like, well, don't tell me I can't do that. Tell me more. And it's exactly what you said.
I do think that is an overlook or missed opportunity time and time again, where people never ask me for my feedback. It could be good or bad. just document it. You can always go back in, months, years from now and see all the feedback that has been given, and that can allow you to create so much value internally and externally. How you position things, how you train your staff, the culture that you are developing for the organization, how do you want to present the products or services, what shift can take place. So that is definitely key.
Oh, I'm going to start using that right away. And how does that apply to personal relationships?
Well, that is sometimes I get in my household a lot of do not analyze us just because of
Are you a psychologist by training?
I will be considered a formal data scientist,
Okay.
social scientist, excuse me, once I complete my degree. Given that the industrial organizational psychology training that I have received from doing surveys and interviews and comparing data and framing those kind of questions that are key when we are selling, when we are building, when we are creating ecosystems. Yeah. And I can tell you, if I have to today, right now, I'm not in need of any salespeople right now. But if you're hiring a salesperson, invest in them understanding psychology. Forget about teaching them the products. That can come secondary. But if there's one thing that a salesperson should know is how can they connect with people. It's not about the products that they're selling, it's the psychology. People buy things emotionally, not rationally. So you need to understand what triggers that decision making.
That is so interesting because I say the same thing with investing. I said, well, businesses don't make decisions.
Yes.
People make decisions. So if we don't understand the emotions of the people, we don't understand anything else. But I had to learn that the hard way because I'm an engineer and then a biology. So you can't. I remember getting upset by that, and I said, you can't ask a plant to stretch itself. That is what you see. It's called positive realism in sociology, um, which I didn't know. I learned about that when in my 50s. But it is so true. People are interesting. Yeah, and it's the connection that makes us better. Now, let me ask you a question going forward. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have to say anything else about that?
I just wanted to reiterate exactly what you said. Is the connection, is that loop, regardless of the tools or resources that you use. At the end of the day, is about the connection. So make sure that we are being mindful of those and just reconnecting with individuals. And using technology should be used to remove the frictions from the connections, not to replace the connections that we should be making.
So how do you deal with manipulation? Because sometimes I feel some of the tools are, yeah, you're laughing, those tools are, and I see that with older people like my mom. So I think some people are manipulating things.
Yes. Manipulation is never gonna go away. The key is understanding when you are being manipulated. You will have once you understand it, you will have the option to remove yourself from the situation, to turn off the device or the technology that is being used to manipulate you, or allow you to make a conscious decision if you should continue to go forward. So everything that we do nowadays, from the algorithms, the way that they're being written, autoplays for videos and social media, everything is cognitive, is designed to keep us attached to that. So understanding that component of it is what's going to allow you to make the decision. So manipulation is never going to go away in any industry, in any sector. It's just understanding when you are being manipulated so you can remove yourself from the situation, or you have the conscious choice to stay or to go. That's my 2 cents, based on my training and my research. But I do think that it's really important to understand it.
What do you think is going to be the role of AI in all of this?
Um, so I do think that AI is going to continue to improve and get even smarter of what it is today. So from the adaptation of our voices, the cloning, the decision making of what kind of children we want and what kind of characteristic they should have, because right now all of that stuff is being worked on and being manipulated. Um, we are going to continue to evolve. Number one, we are going to need to learn what technology do we want to allow in our homes, in our day-to-day life. But ultimately, it is going to be a component of understanding that. I believe that being naive about things is not going to help us. You need to understand technology. You need to understand AI so you can allow yourself to make the decision. Do I want this technology in my home? Do I want to use this technology going forward? Do I
Yeah.
want to drive a car that is fully AI, that is that has all this different technology that make me feel unsafe. So number one, understanding the market and the industry. Number two, understanding your capability to handle certain kind of technology. And number three, it will be making sure that the next generation is aware of what they are building and how it can be used against us.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big challenge for the younger people. Yeah, because they're going to grow up with that. So let me wrap up with the question about legacy. So as many of the listeners know, I fell off a horse when I was 13 and I died, but I didn't die fully. So, choo choo didn't want me up there. So send me back. But at a very young age, I realized that I am going to die. So I always think about what is my legacy? What is my essence? Who am I when I'm not here? And that's the question that I want to pose to you. So have you thought about what is your legacy? Who are you when you're no longer here in time and space? Who's Diana or
That is
Caro?
that is the I know what name.
Yeah, well, let's start with the name.
I think that that is a very scary thought. Just because I have a family, I have a young family, I have kids that depend on me. And believe it or not, that is one of the things that whenever I go somewhere, I'm always thinking like, I want to make sure that I can come back home safely and I want to be with my family and my children. But as it relates to who do I want to be when I'm no longer here, I do believe that my legacy evolves around ensuring that my name is used to build better systems and create better connections along the way through trusted partnerships, through alignment, through culture, through friendships, and that we can look back and say, this is what we built as humans. This is how we connected. And we were able to disagree at the human level, that we were able to disagree without punishing each other, without being unkind, and that we respected each other. Because ultimately, I do think that that's where we're going to elevate the businesses that we are working on, the relationships that we are building, the communities that we are part of, and all of us as a nation, building partnerships, disagreeing amicably, and finding better ways to work together.
Yeah, you're such a good relationship builder. Yeah, it shows throughout the whole podcast. Is there one thing that you would like to remind yourself throughout your life going forward?
I Let's see. I think that one of the things that I would like to remind myself is that being right here, right now is temporary. So make things worth for you now, not for the future. Make sure that the decisions that you make today matter to you today. Make sure that the alignments and the partnerships that you create today, they are important to you today. So just sometimes just pausing and just being present. I do think that it's one thing that I've been struggling with because it's always, as a visionary, right? You have 20 different things like what is going to happen in 10 years, in 20
Yeah.
years. Well, sometimes we forget about the right now. What matters right now? What makes me happy right now? What can be improved right now? If there's one thing, one friction that we can remove today, how soon can we do it? And how can we move forward today?
Yeah. Diana, Caro, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to see my mom now, so I'm going to think a lot about relationships and how we move. We didn't talk much about the cultures and the different cultures that we have, but it is such a pleasure to have you here, and it's so much fun. Every time I talk to you, I'm always smiling, and it's that positive energy. So I love it. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I look forward to staying connected.
Oh, how do people connect with you? Forgot to ask that.
Thank you.
Ah,
I will say that the top channel right now is definitely LinkedIn. As many other organizations and individuals are using it, it's just easier. So if anybody wants to connect with me, feel free to reach out. Always looking to make new connections.
I should charge LinkedIn for that because everybody says that. But anyway, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I had been talking to Diana about trust a lot in relationships. And after we finished the recording, we continue talking about trust. That is so missing in society nowadays. We don't trust that somebody else is speaking to us authentically. We don't trust that we can tell them how we feel, what we think. It's very important in investment, but it's so important in human relationships. And I hope you enjoyed this and you can take some of these lessons or some of these suggestions and comments and apply it to your life. This is your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, and I'll see you in Wealthing next time. Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.